Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order. Madam City Clerk, would you be so kind to call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Jean Goss.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Edward Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Rachel Arizmendi had been previously excused. Councilmember Kelly Krebs. Here. Councilmember Robert Parkhurst.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum this evening.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ed Garcia will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
So I'd like to get a motion for approval of the meeting agenda.
Move to approve the meeting agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved as is. We will skip public comment, as there is no public comment tonight on items that are not on the agenda, and we'll go right to discussion for the day.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll begin the presentation for the staff report. So I'll give just a general overview, and our city attorney will give some step-by-step of acquisition of the property and what that process is like. Our finance director is also here to answer any questions regarding the budget, and we'll follow with police and fire, public safety, giving council an update on why this acquisition is necessary for the department. So our city council in 2019 made a commitment to this city to take our fire department from part-time to full-time, and with that we understood that there was going to be some needs for the department, including expansion of the facility, and we know that that the growing needs of the department, that building, that facility is undersized, and we came across the building at 350 East Sierra Madre Boulevard, the former Bank of America building. The building is approximately 9,000 square feet and would allow us to relocate our police department or part of our public safety to that facility, and this would allow us to fully utilize the building next door to accommodate the growing needs of our fire department. And with that, I'd like to turn the mic over to our city attorney to go over the acquisition process.
Thank you, City Manager Reynoso. On March, can we have the slide come up, please? Thank you. On March 8th, 2022, the City Council met in closed session and authorized City Manager Jose Reynoso to negotiate the price and terms of payment for the property located at 350 West Sierra Madre Boulevard. The City Manager negotiated a purchase and sale agreement that's before the City Council today. If the City Council approves the purchase of this property, the next step will be for Bank of America to sign that purchase and sale agreement. Once Bank of America signs it, escrow will open, and the city will have 21 days to conduct its due diligence. During that 21-day due diligence period, the city will review both Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental reports for the property, and it can choose to not move forward with the purchase during that 21-day period and receive its earnest money deposit back. So it's only during this 21-day period is that earnest money deposit refundable. After that, the escrow period extends out another 30 days beyond the initial 21 days. And escrow is expected to close on May 28th, assuming that Bank of America signs the purchase and sale agreement on the 7th. In the interim, on April 21st, per the government code, the Planning Commission must make a consistency finding that the purchase and sale of this property is consistent with the general plan. The staff report and resolution have already been prepared for the Planning Commission, and the Director of Planning will agendize that for April 21st. And that concludes my report, and I turn now to the Chief of Police and to our Fire Chief to provide their presentation as to why a new building is necessary.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity, even the support to even entertain the purchase of the said building. As city manager stated earlier, both public safety departments have kind of outgrown the building, especially combined. The building was built in 1976, and at least on our side, on the fire side, at that time, it was built for a volunteer fire department, for which we have now become full-time career department. And so we did our due diligence on that facility. We made some berthing and sleeping areas. We converted some areas to make it work. But now we've even outgrown that a little bit, and even coming up with the modern age of fire departments themselves and all the concerns that are currently out there. As you can tell, 50 years is a big time. We should probably be looking at the next 50 years and the things that are going to be coming. But some of the things that we're currently dealing with in the department, like I said, is built for a volunteer department. We don't currently have adequate locker space for the members we have. We have some members that they're there for 48 hours at a minimum, sometimes 72 hours, 96 hours, and on a rare occasion 120 hours without going home. They need places to store their personal gear, bring in the necessities for themselves, and we don't even have enough lockers for each individual that we currently have on staff. Inadequate restrooms for us currently as well. We, for our living quarters, we have one men's restroom and one ladies' restroom, and they have one shower, one toilet apiece. So that's kind of a battle. It's almost like for those of us that have a one-bedroom house with multiple children and everything else, we're fighting over it at some times, and so it makes it a little bit challenging. The sleeping quarters themselves is we have basically a dorm type of setting. We have a ambulance room, which has 2 beds in it, and an engine room, which has 4 beds. And the idea and concept behind that was if the ambulance had to go to the hospital, came back late at night, they wouldn't wake up the engine company or what have you. But we've now seen, and the trends are in the fire service to get away from dormitory type of sleeping for a multitude of reasons, and going to separate areas of sleeping where everybody would have their own room kind of deal. And there's numerous reasons for that. One most recently being COVID. We really couldn't get away from it if we tried, telling folks to sleep with a mask on all night long because there's 4 people in there, right? So those things, the fire service has obviously progressed in the last 50 years, thankfully, and we have to account for male and female sleeping areas. And we're not really set up for that. If we have a female on staff, that person will go into the ambulance room and have a room themselves, while the other person on the ambulance, if they're male, now they join the engine company. And that space alone is not even up to national standards as far as square footage. So if we cram another person in there, it's even a little bit less. So like I said, pandemic, not pandemic friendly, just common colds and flus too, that kind of deal. And restorative sleep. When we come back from calls early in the morning, trying to bunk with 3 other brothers and sisters or what have you, you got the snorers in there, you got everything else. It's hard to get that wellness component of trying to rejuvenate and get back and get ready and get yourself ready for the next call. Just a little bit of a list of stuff. We currently do not even have a training room on the fire side. Everything that we do, and some of you have toured our facility, everything we do is up in the common area. So the one table is for eating, it's for meetings, it's for training, it's for everything we do. So again, no training room, no conference or meeting room. We don't have a public education room. So if children from the local schools come to visit, we house them in the apparatus bay, which is probably not the place we want to be doing, because we do have, that's considered a hot zone where the carcinogens live. We have vehicles with exhaust. We have, our turnouts that have carcinogens, if we, remaining carcinogens that we haven't cleaned up. But it's not really a place that we'd like to have people gather. nor is it really conducive for the level of training and meetings and everything that we want to put on. Storage, both departments, we have no place for storage. A lot of our medical supplies alone are in different rooms. We have controlled narcotics that have to be locked up. Our medications alone, the supplies, the training equipment and materials, our record keeping and retention. Have you seen, we have two large Connex type boxes or storage containers out back. That's where our records are kept. Not really ideal on especially with the weather and things. But they're stored out there along with equipment and tools. We just don't have much other place for that. Again, one of the things going into the fire service, and be very excited if we can do this acquisition, is to bring our department up to standards and as maybe hopefully create these hot and warm and cold zones for contaminants, where we can come in off of the engine, get our stuff straight into the cleaning machines, the extractors that we have, and put people through basically a decon where they can now get into the common areas and not have any of this stuff on them. We do a really good job about making sure everything stays where it's supposed to be, but that would help us as well. And not to mention, that is where we hold a lot of facilities. We've had breakfasts there. We've had the mayor's breakfast in that area. It'd be kind of nice to have a larger place to do that, to bring in the public, to bring in our local students, to gather and have a larger meeting, conference room, training room type of deal. And I think lastly, like I said, the tightness, I love it to the degree that it brings us really close when we share that kind of common space and we're together. But it also doesn't allow for firefighter wellness, a holistic approach to it. Like I said, there's a definite increase in cancer diagnosis and deaths. There's cardiac deaths on the fire side, along with now we're finding mental wellness and PTSD type of things. So being able to have additional space, a safe place for somebody to go to maybe de-stress after a call, to go into their own room. Maybe they've been on shift for 3-4 days in a row. They haven't seen their family. They could FaceTime in private with their loved ones. It's just, the benefits are enormous, and like I said, we're excited for the opportunity. And that's the end of my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Okay. Thank you
Great
very much.
report. Thank you, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor and honorable council members. Many of the things that Chief Bartlett mentioned are absolutely apply to us. There is an overcrowding situation. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with him that employees need those spaces, especially firemen and police officers, where if they need a minute to get away and de-stress and get themselves together to deal with some of the issues they face, and prepare to get back out there. That's really needed. Working with the Sheriff's Department, I've worked at some huge stations and some smaller stations, and all of them had that room where we could do that. We just unfortunately don't have that here. Our department, we've grown substantially in the amount of people that work at the station, and that may not necessarily be the number of sworn, but you know, the department's developed, we have several part-time employees that now work here, including officers. We have a nice reserve officer cadre that work here. And then our volunteer program, which we're very proud of and working to expand, is a pretty healthy amount of folks as well. So all those folks are kind of crammed into this place. And there are times, for example, just the Wisteria event or the 4th of July, where we can get pretty much all those people in the station at the same time to go out and provide the safety services that we need to have for the city. So that does make it cramped. As Brent mentioned, our locker rooms are unfortunately inadequate. We do have some employees who don't have lockers, so we do need to grow there. The showers our concern as well. Basically, we have one male and one female shower. And we're really proud of, you know, our diverse group of individuals working here. We're really proud of the fact that we have several female employees who work here, and that's highly important in law enforcement and public service, period. And unfortunately, our females, their locker room and their bathroom area is in need of some real attention. And it's our plan to continue to grow those numbers and see more female employees working with us. Some other areas, just to name a few, our dispatch center. It's very small and very crowded and cramped, and a real concern for that is that they currently deal with the public at the window, and if you stand just outside that window or anywhere in the small lobby, you can hear the conversations that are taking place. At times there's radio traffic involving situations in the field, and so it's a concern trying to figure out who may be in the lobby and could that create an issue for us out in the field. Them hearing officers getting directions or making requests, or even the dispatchers. Our PD takes up quite a bit of space in the parking lot, and that's a problem for our fellow city employees. It's really a tough problem, and that's not just with our employee parking, but also our vehicles that we need to have access to. Leaves a pretty big imprint there. One of the things that concerns me most is the evidence room. And so, unfortunately, our evidence room doubles as the armory. And so that causes us to have to keep evidentiary weapons and tactical weapons in the same space. And while our great employees do a great job keeping them separate, it is a major concern, and I don't think there's another agency in the area or maybe even in the state that does it in that manner. Certainly nowhere else I've worked has it been done that way. I would definitely like to see those two separated. Storage is a concern, and the chief pointed out a lot of issues. We currently keep our hard files in a locker at the yard. So we just don't have the space within the PD for that. But the bigger concern is the storing of the tactical equipment that we have. We're challenged, and the demands on law enforcement are growing, as you know. So the demands for more training, the demands for more equipment to deal with issues safely. So we just don't have the storage space, and we're challenged to keep even some of our ammunition safely stored. So, and then I'd just like to mention regarding that evidence room as well. I applaud my firemen for dealing with this, but when we take large seizures in, not only is the evidence room challenged, but there's been occasions where we've taken large seizures of marijuana, and because of where the room is at and the size of it, it basically goes throughout the building, the odor of the marijuana. And unfortunately, my brothers upstairs have to sleep smelling that sometime because they're just above and a few feet east. So definitely, I think expansion is definitely needed here. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Parkhurst.
Are there situations between the police and fire where you guys are co-storing stuff at all? So is like you mentioned, Chief Bartlett, the controlled substances. I'm hoping the controlled substances are in a separate place than the armory, for example, or things like that. And can you tell us a little bit about kind of, is there any co-storage of any materials?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Yeah, our controlled narcotics, they have to be in a safe. There's only certain people that have the access to that. But other than that, even I'm not aware of any co-storing.
And you said, Chief Bartlett, that the trend is to go to separate rooms for sleeping now?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Any questions?
If I could add on to it, it's not necessarily a separate room for each individual on staff. A lot of the trending is, for instance, we run an A, B, and C shift. So it may be one room per shift with 3 beds in it, So as that firefighter's room can handle A, B, and C shifts, so there would be a bed in there for each one, if that makes a little bit of sense. So it's not 15 different rooms, it could be more like 4 or 5, because we do also do a captain's room, and like I said, looking into the future, that we might even want to put in my predecessor, whoever's going to take over, may not live in Sierra Madre like I do and have that luxury, may be coming, and they may have to stay late at the council nights or something like that. So I'm even looking down the road on something like that as well.
Mayor Pro Tem?
So thinking about mental and physical fitness, currently, do either of you have any area where you can perform physical fitness? Because sometimes that obviously helps mental fitness to be in shape. And I know, especially for the fire, you're working 36-hour shifts at times. It's important for you to have that fitness area. What do you guys have now, and what are you doing?
That is the only common shared area that we really truly have, and it was pretty much inaccessible during COVID because we could really only get one person in there at a time. I was in there this morning, had 2 of my folks join me, and it's very cramped and very tight. We don't really have that kind of room, but yes, big part of not only the mental wellness, but obviously cardiac issues as well. We got to stay fit as well as the police officers as well. They're in there just as much as we are.
I was just going to add to that really fast too. Something that I forgot to mention is, we both do quite a bit of training, and especially on the fire side. And with us being literally right next to each other, I know there's many times when they're outside trying to get training done, and we can get in the way of that sometimes with our vehicles, and it also, it limits accessibility to get out to certain calls in a timely manner. So.
Mr. Mayor,
We have a question.
I mean, it's very evident that the building is not built for the current, use of it. One question I did have, though, maybe on the flip side, is that, in terms of working together as departments, I mean, have you thought at all about what it would look like to, not have the convenience of being, located literally, side by side, and sort of what the thought is about, having that degree of cooperation and integration, and not having the physical aspect of that, if that was to how this moved forward?
I think that'd be good. I would save a lot of ice cream. He comes into my office and takes my ice cream all the time.
I need that gym, sir.
That is a good point. Being on the department for over 20 years now, it's never been better. The partnership that we have with them and the interaction that we actually have between departments. I don't see that changing, to be honest with you. We do enough out in the field. We have enough community events. We have a lot of. We just got back from another meeting with Neighborhood Watch, where we're really starting to ramp up the partnership throughout. So, yeah, physically, I don't think we wouldn't be right next to each other, but we're only a little bit away. It would still work out.
And it's been my history working with the Sheriff's Department. That is the normal way, is that the departments are separated. I think we might have a couple here in San Gabriel that are not separated. But just as the chief mentioned, our relationship, the firemen, even the professional staff, is one of the closest I've seen. And I don't think that distance is going to affect that in any way. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to add, in addition to the issues that police and fire face with space, our community services department basically operates in the park house out of a closet where we have 2 staff members. Our IT department and the IT room at the police department and here at City Hall are cramped. So this also provides an opportunity for us to relocate some staff from City Hall to either the public safety building next door or to the Bank of America building. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to be here early in the morning. Chief talked about parking. Our parking lot's full, and any residents or people who come to do business here at City Hall often have to find parking in the street. it's very difficult to find a parking spot. So we see this also as an opportunity to alleviate parking and to create some more space for essential city staff.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Any questions for him? Mr. City Attorney, do you have a comment?
Yes, so before the council today, we have a resolution. The resolution does a number of things. First, it approves the purchase and sale agreement that's an attachment to the staff report. It provides the city manager with discretion to make minor amendments to the purchase and sale agreement to the extent that's necessary. And it also requires the city council to approve a not-to-exceed amount. Now, the contract is for $3.4 million for the purchase of the property, but that doesn't include closing costs and other costs associated with the purchase of this property. So circulated to the council before this meeting was an email from our real estate agent, Mr. Dan Ale, and Ali, thank you. And while these figures aren't what the Bank of America provided, this is what his, I believe it's what his broker provided as an estimate of what we can expect to incur as a result of this transaction. So we have in this resolution a blank left for the not to exceed amount for the council to determine what's appropriate. But whatever the council determines should reflect both the purchase price as well as the closing costs as estimated in this email. And lastly, once the transaction is complete, the city clerk will be recording this with the county clerk's office and noting that the property will no longer be subject to taxation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Okay, before we conclude this, I'd like to open this up for public comment.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I have a question about
Sure,
this.
be my guest.
So I noticed there's a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental assessment. So the phase 2 is going to be doing cores and looking for any type of contamination. Based on the history of the city, do we expect to find any contamination that requires remediation?
So the phase 2 work that we're going to do is we're actually going to take air canister tests from inside the building. We do know that the cleaners to the east and to the west could potentially contaminate some soil. So we just want to make sure that none of those contaminants are off-gassing into the building. That's our primary concern with environmental. And so we will be conducting, or we would be conducting canister testing as soon as this Thursday, providing the council approves the purchase.
And so but you're going to be doing cores in addition to, because you'll do soil cores, right?
We're not going to do soil cores. We're going to do just air canister testing.
Just air canister testing. And is there any remediation if you find any perk or any other dry cleaning chemicals?
So in the event that we do find that there's off-gassing of chemicals, we can either ask for an extension to the contract to our due diligence to see what those costs are, or we can cancel the purchase of the property.
What's the age of this property?
I believe the property was built in the 1960s.
Do we expect to see any asbestos and require any remediation of asbestos in the building?
We do anticipate that there's going to be a need for asbestos removal, yes.
And okay, but that won't impact the purchase price. That'll be as a part of the renovation. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Great.
Since we have a do not exceed issue on going forward, I think we should have the finance director just give us a little background on where our reserves are and where we sit, let's say after purchase, relative to what our required reserves are.
There she is.
Good evening. So we started the fiscal year with 9.2 million in the general fund in reserves, and taking into consideration the projected surplus of 2.1 and the purchase of 3.4, and some closing costs, we would end at 7.8 million. And our reserve policy is 25% of operating, which that would leave us at 4.3 above the minimum reserve.
And is that taking into consideration any of what we have kind of spoke about spending some reserves on potentially the library and parks and those issues?
It only takes, the reserve policy only takes into consideration 25% of operating expenditures. And we have not taken into consideration the 5-year capital improvement plan since we're in the budget process currently.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Other questions?
At some point, are we going to be talking at all at this meeting or at some future meeting about the estimated cost of renovation?
So we do know that the building is just under 10,000 or approximately 9,000 square feet, and preliminary estimates are about $100 per square foot. We anticipate that our police department or public safety would use about half of that. So initially, we would be looking at about about $500,000 to renovate the bottom floor.
So we have, we approved a meeting or two ago well, actually, I ask this a different way. Would we be moving the EOC, do you think, to that building?
So we currently have an operating EOC, and we've had some preliminary discussions, and I think the talk is to keep the EOC set up the way it is here at City Hall.
So then the follow-on question is how would that then impact the CPA grant that we've got for the solar for the building for resilience? Because I understand, and maybe Analyst Carlson can check me on this, but that was intended for emergency operations. I think it would have to be tied to the EOC, right?
Correct, and the EOC, as I mentioned, would remain here at City Hall, so that that solar project would still benefit the EOC.
Okay.
Yeah, and based on the decision of you tonight, I will inform them of the possibility of the dispatch component moving, but retaining the EOC. And I've had discussions with Chief Armelin, and we really think we're going to keep the EOC here for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
So hopefully that will still qualify and there won't be a problem.
And are you considering, I mean, you know, we'll get a grant to cover a basic for the dispatch, but that's what, a 4,000 square foot roof? That's nice and flat, that has a nice southern exposure to it?
There may be some opportunities for additional improvements along that line at the new building if we get there. Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions?
Just have a follow-up on something I heard in an answer. So regarding current police department square footage, where are we at there? Because it obviously is a concern for our community service department. Many of us have been there, and it's not adequate for an employee to be, or multiple employees to be working the way they've been working, and I'm grateful that they've been doing what they've been doing. But so how many square feet is the current police department? And obviously 4,500 would be half, since it is a rectangular building, I'm assuming each floor is about 4,500 square feet. Where are we looking there?
And I had that number, and maybe Chief can help me if I'm off, but I believe the number that I received was 2,800 square feet.
Okay, so that's a big improvement, just having one floor. Okay.
So it's 2,800 for the police, and what is fire right now?
Let me see if Public Works Director Semino is available to answer that question.
Good evening. I do not have exact numbers of that. The fire department does occupy the apparatus room, a couple storage areas on the side of the apparatus room, and then the upstairs. So, I mean, if we're looking at an estimate, it'd be close to what the police department is, about 3,000 square feet, not including the apparatus room. That alone is about 2,000 square feet.
So we have a potential doubling of the fire department's kind of usable space, not including the apparatus room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably double.
Okay. I think we've exhausted all of our questions. Now I will turn to the public and see if there are comments on this item on the agenda.
Good evening, Gary Hood, North Baldwin. I would like to speak in favor of such a program. I think it's been a long time coming. I know I just came from a neighborhood watch meeting tonight, and it would have been very nice to have that meeting at the police station. Because of COVID, it's been kind of a quiet program, but now the chief has reinvigorated the program, and we had quite a nice turnout tonight. We do need to have more neighborhood watch captains, and it looks like the police department is working hard in that area. And I think that it's been a long time where the two departments have worked close together, but as these programs expand, it's nice to have the program in the police station. Quite a few years ago, Mike Kinney, Caroline Brown, and my staff started the CERT program. And after the program was up and going, we asked for a locker at the fire station. There wasn't room for one, and I understand that. So I'm looking forward for CERT now to be able to have a little more locker space at the fire station and be able to interface with the fire department on their premises. So I really speak in favor of this program. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a long time coming, and I think our emergency responders are going to be a lot happier with this. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Hood. Any other comments from the public? Okay, hearing none. Do we have any emails on this subject, Madam City Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, the city staff did not receive any public comment for this meeting.
Thank you. So I'll bring it back. Folks, who wants to start the conversation?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Creeves.
I mean, I think we knew a lot of the circumstances before this meeting tonight, but obviously both chiefs really painted a picture of the current conditions and really, got into the detail of the inadequacy of the current facility. So I don't think there's any question that something, needs to be done and probably has been needed for quite some time. I know that there's been talk in the past of, expanding the existing building, but I really feel like the opportunity in front of us, is really sort of dropped into our lap and creates a situation where not only are we providing for, adequate facilities for our public safety employees, but also, frankly, occupying a building on a prominent corner of our town that, otherwise is empty. And I think that's important, too, that building remain, of use and be populated. So I am very much in favor of this purchase. And obviously, we're excited to, be successful in the bidding process. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I'd hate to see us, lose out on that.
And I'd like to commend the city manager, Public Works, Fire, and Police for jumping on this. I know that they've worked really hard to make sure, working with the real estate agent, trying to put together the right type of package on this, doing the due diligence on the facility, and also the history of dealing with kind of much smaller operations than a city our size does. So I'm extremely excited about this and I'm very supportive of it.
Thank you, Councilmember Parkers. We have just been joined by Councilmember Arizmendi. We are having our conversation about whether or not we want to support the resolution purchasing the building. Would you like to chime in?
Has everyone already commented?
Other than the Mayor Pro Tem and myself.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think this opportunity is obviously very good. It alleviates the pressure for our public safety departments, but it also gives us opportunity for the pressures that we have within the square footage of City Hall, which is also an issue. I just encourage us as we go forward, when we're long gone and dead and buried, that we make sure that we are setting up this potential new asset in a way that will be taken care of. We need to make sure we budget for maintenance on a go-forward basis, so this building doesn't get into disrepair as the city has done in the past. So I just encourage us, as potential legacy, to make sure that if this goes forward, that we're setting the standard for making sure that this asset will be taken care of. And it's just that, it's an asset. This is not a depreciating asset. This is an asset that is most likely going to appreciate through time. And if we ever get into the situation where we need to dispense of an asset, we will hopefully do better than inflation, so it'll be a good investment for the city. It's not like we're just burning money or spending money. So I'm very comfortable with the purchase price and the whole situation here.
Do you want me to comment? Hi, everyone. I apologize for being late. I actually wasn't sure if I was going to make it. I hit quite a lot of traffic coming from Merced and allowed for a lot of time. But with that being said, and I apologize I wasn't able to also listen to the presentations, but given our one-on-one with our city manager and reviewing our packet and also understanding what we have gone through in the last few years, I know I'm of support of this project. I know initially there may be questions about the initial cost for it, but given, I think, where property values are, and as Mayor Pro Tem had shared, it truly is an investment as an asset. But in addition to that, this really is a commitment to our public safety. And as the mayor and I have been serving on this council for over 8 years now, I think, it's been very clear to me, and I can maybe say also for the mayor, that as the residents have come forward and what we have analyzed and evaluated over the last 8 years, there really is a desire to commit to the full-time fire department and developing out our police department too as a full comprehensive service city. And I truly can say this proudly, that we are one of the few cities, and especially cities our size, that continue to offer this full service public safety for our community. And it's something that not only we take pride in as city government, but I know our residents do also. But with that being said, I know there's going to still be question about our tenant improvement, ensuring that we fit it properly. If we are making this investment, I want to make sure we're doing it right and to the quality and level of what's expected for public safety. And I know there's several ways that we can take a look at this, and whether that was discussed today or not, I'm committed to ensuring that as we fit this, if this is something we approve as a city council today and go through the entire process, that we will ensure that it's done correctly, and again, of the quality that we would expect for our public safety. And ensuring we have ongoing operational support. This is one thing I think many cities do, or municipalities do, is there's an initial investment and it looks very nice for the ribbon cutting, but what happens thereafter? Are we ensuring that we're allocating our budget to support it operationally, with maintenance and with staff, and understanding that that is going to be part of what we expect our city council to continue doing and our city hall to continue doing, that this investment will definitely be worth that. So I'm in support of this. Again, apologies that I came here so late, but I'm excited about the potential of this project and what we'll do, not just for our public safety, but our overall staffing of our city hall and the way that we provide service to the public.
Thank you. I am really pleased you made it, because obviously what you just said, Councilmember Arizmendi, is so poignant. We came on this council 8 years ago with all kinds of financial difficulties facing us. Shortly after we got on the council, we had a police department that just about evaporated, and we almost went to the sheriff's department for a contract office. We had a volunteer fire department. We had all kinds of issues as well. And I think that we've come full circle, that in the last 8 years, the last council, the present council, we've acted in ways which are financially prudent, and we've been able to build our reserves till we have the money capable of making this purchase today. I'm very proud of that. But I also want to say this to the public. You stuck with us. You really did. We had some very thin times. And I think this is an example where everything kind of comes together at the right time, and we have the resources. Looks like we have a unanimous council, and I think we're going to move our city ahead in a historic way tonight, because the police department and the fire department, the public safety function of government, is without a doubt the top priority of any government at any level. And the fact that we are able to make this kind of investment, I think, is a statement about how serious public safety is in Sierra Madre and how serious it will be in the future. And I'm really pleased for all our firefighters and all our police officers and our leadership. I think this is just going to be a fantastic move forward for our entire city government. So I agree. I join you all as a positive yay on this, and I'm looking for a motion to that effect from one of my colleagues.
Well, I move to approve resolution number 22-15 with section 3 not exceeding, and I'd recommend 3.5 million just to be safe, that we're going to meet all the costs of closing. That's the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that with the 3.5 cap.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Madam City Clerk? Boy, I'm in a great mood now. So that concludes our meeting, and we will have our regular scheduled city council meeting, a week from tonight, right? So thank you, everyone.
Yay!
Yes.
I didn't think it was nothing.